My name is Denise Hills. I work for the Geologic Survey of Alabama, and this has been a really great experience, thanks in no small part to the folks at Arizona for being excellent managers of this project and providing support when we needed it. And this was a really interesting project for us because when you think of Alabama, you certainly don't think of geothermal. But it's actually opened up some doors for us. It's been really interesting for us to be part of this project, so I've been really pleased to be part of it. Anyway, so just some of the data that we were able to submit to the NGDS. In the state of Alabama, we have over 18,000 permitted oil and gas wells in the state. And we have managed to submit information from over 16,000 of those wells of some sort to the NGDS. Of those 16,000 wells, more than 13,000 of those wells had scanned TIFF images of well logs that possibly might have a bottom hole measurement, a bottom hole temperature measurement. Not all of them did. Some of them were unreadable, and I'll actually show you some examples of that in just a sec. But overall, we had to examine over 30,000 geophysical well logs, and this meant opening up each individual TIFF file, because even though they're scanned, you can't read the header until you open the file. And overall, we submitted just under 12,000 bottom hole temperature measurements to the NGDS. Sorry, those were highlighting which wells, and you can see that there's concentrations of those areas where we were able to gather bottom hole measurements, bottom hole temperature measurements. This northwestern area is within the Blackwater Basin, which is a large sedimentary basin. Another thing that another data product that we were able to generate was our submission to OneGeology, although it is not fully submitted to OneGeology yet because I haven't jumped through the final little hoops. The project team at Arizona has already done QC on our OneGeology state map, and it's just ready to go as soon as I actually have a moment to submit the final thing to OneGeology. Additionally, to the state level map, we have about 20 quad maps that need final QC, and then they would be ready to also submit to OneGeology. Opportunities that presented themselves to us by being involved with the NGDS, kind of in the early stages, I was able to attend the SedHeat Seas workshop sponsored by NSF. This was essentially talking about geothermal potential of sedimentary basins. And again, any sort of geothermal potential that's going to be found in Alabama is going to be found in our sedimentary basins. And this was a really great opportunity for me because I was able, and for the state of Alabama, because we were able to start making connections and talk with people about the potential for lower temperature enhanced geothermal projects. Traditionally, they look at greater than 250 Fahrenheit, and for any oil and gas well, that we're not drilling down deep enough for that. But we have, like I said, we have over 18,000 wells in the state that have already been drilled, and some of them get at the bottom, uncorrected temperatures are over 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're getting close to that 250, but we're not quite there. So this has actually led to some requests for information about the potential for doing pilot projects of enhanced geothermal systems in the state, and particularly looking at processes utilizing oil fields at the end of their productive life cycle, or areas that might also have carbon dioxide sequestration potential. So those are kind of how we're geared to look at these things. We've had 2 or 3 different companies contact us about how they might access the information that they would need to determine whether or not this was a viable project within the state of Alabama. One of the big things that we've done through this project is not only expanding the idea even of geothermal potential within the state, but we've taken a good hard look at our data management, and I know that this has been a big thing in a lot of the other talks. We have a sister agency, the State Oil and Gas Board. The way the regulations are set up, any well logs that are run, any core that is taken in relation to a permitted oil and gas well, we are required by law to have copies of those well logs, and if they take a whole core, we're required to at least have half of it. And this is part of the regulatory structure. So we have this amazing wealth of data. However, a lot of it is not digital or machine readable. We do have all of the well logs are now, all of our paper copies are now scanned, but we don't really have a good core database. We don't really have a good database of all the physical samples, because beyond what the is required from the Oil and Gas Board, the Geologic Survey of Alabama itself also does a lot of research, so we gather a lot of various information. So this actually shows you a little bit of some of our problems with our data. We don't have a good standardized format for the information related to wells. We have thousands and thousands of thin sections with very detailed notes on some of them. Unfortunately, how we have a record of these at the moment is a single Excel file. Actually, I'm sorry, it's 2 Excel files. One that has notes about the photographs that have also been taken. And you can see from this that there's no standardized format for depths. You know, sometimes they don't even record the entire, have recorded the entire depth. You know, they just record the final 2 digits, which if you lose the institutional knowledge, you're never going to know where that came from. So what we have done is we've taken those wonderful content models developed through the NGDS and worked to expand that model and modify it to be able to be applied to our thin section database. So if you've seen these content models from the NGDS, you can see that this, for our thin section record, this is a very similar, it's got the same sort of types of fields that you would find with that. And we have also developed the field list, that field tab, in the same sort of manner. And this will help us kind of QC our existing collection, and moving forward it will certainly improve our data management practice for physical samples. Also moving forward with this, we're going to be working with our other physical samples, and including our cores, other sorts of samples, and we're working right now with IETA and CSAR to work on getting all of our physical objects registered with the International Geologic Sample Number, IGSN database. And moving forward, we've gotten very involved with a lot of different groups. One big group that we've become very involved with is the Federation for Earth Science Information Partners, and also with EarthCube. We hope to further participate with the folks at Arizona with Node in a Box. I've got a little bit here about Radco Energy. That's one of the companies that has been in discussion with us in Alabama about looking at lower temperature enhanced geothermal systems. And of course, we're also getting much more involved with EarthCube, although as a governmental agency, we're not as able to be as involved with that as we might like at this time, until we can figure out how we can get a little bit more involved as a government agency. That was me talking very fast, but I think that's all I have for right now. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Great. Thanks, Denise. And I think that you hit on one of the primary reasons that I'm excited that you were able to talk, and that's the changes in your data management system at the GSA in general. So I appreciate you touching base on that. So questions for Denise? And while there's questions, I'm going to go ahead and go ahead, Lisa.
Just a comment about the data set, and Denise, I had reason to use their information about a year ago. It wasn't done, but Denise was extremely helpful, and their data was very useful. So
yes, Lisa, I remember working with you, and I hope that in the future we'll be able to maybe collaborate a little bit more with that.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for Denise?